Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a seriously enthusiastic dive into the literal hidden machinery that keeps us alive, moving, and protected every single day. We're going to explore the incredible human organ systems that just work tirelessly behind the scenes to maintain our body's delicate internal balance. Okay, here's our roadmap for today's anatomical tour. We'll be covering 1. Removing the body's waste. 2. The human urinary system. 3. The master control center. 4. Your outer shield, the skin. And 5. Protecting your body's systems. All right, let's jump right into section 1. Removing the body's waste. So when most of us hear the word waste, right, we immediately think of, well, standard daily bathroom trips. But biologically speaking, excretion is strictly about cellular waste. The everyday processes within our cells, like respiration, produce byproducts that can actually become super toxic if they just build up, stuff like carbon dioxide and water. Excretion is the removal of these specific internally produced toxins. And actually, let's clear up a common misconception right now. This is completely different from the undigested food we call feces. That's really just leftover matter passing through the digestive tract, not a product of cellular chemical reactions at all. To handle all this, our bodies rely on 3 main organs acting as primary filtration plants to get rid of this toxic buildup. Your lungs continuously exhale carbon dioxide and water. Your kidneys filter out urea, uric acid, salts, and water into urine. And believe it or not, even your skin chips in, excreting small amounts of those exact same waste products in the form of sweat. Moving on to section 2, the human urinary system. Let's track the precise journey of this waste. The system is made up of 4 main parts. Up top, we've got the bean-shaped kidneys, which sit right against your back muscles. Blood loaded with waste is brought here, it gets filtered, and the resulting waste fluid travels down those 2 descending tubes called the ureters. This fluid is temporarily stored in the bladder before it's finally eliminated through the urethra. Now, if we look a bit closer at the kidney itself, blood packed with excretory products is brought in by the renal artery. Inside, the kidney is basically divided into 2 major zones. There's the dark outer cortex, which is just packed with blood capillaries. Then there's the inner medulla, containing these fascinating triangular-shaped structures called renal pyramids. These pyramids act exactly like funnels, directing the newly filtered waste into the renal pelvis, which then narrows directly into the upper end of the ureter. You know, you might actually be surprised to learn that the final product of that heavy filtration, urine, is overwhelmingly water. In a healthy person, we're talking a whopping 96%. But those tiny remaining percentages are absolutely vital. About 2% urea, 2% salts, and trace amounts of uric acid. Getting this exact chemical balance right is absolutely essential to keeping your body completely toxic-free. Okay, section 3, the master control center. Let me ask you a question to really think about. When a fast-moving object is flying right at you, how does your body know exactly what to do? How do you seamlessly coordinate something as complex as playing a sport? Think about hitting a cricket ball. To do it properly, the player's body relies on some intense internal communication. Seeing the ball is a sense captured by a receptor, the eye. But actually swinging the bat requires an instant reaction from effectors, the specific muscles in the hands, legs, and neck. If these receptors and effectors don't interact perfectly in a fraction of a second, the hit completely fails. That is nervous coordination in action. This massive communication network is divided into 2 parts. First, you have the highly protected central nervous system, or CNS, which includes the brain and spinal cord. Because it's so incredibly vital, it has heavy armor, the skull, the vertebrae, and special connective tissues called meninges that are filled with shock-absorbing cerebral spinal fluid. Second, we have the peripheral nervous system, or PNS. This branches outward with 12 pairs of cranial nerves from the brain and 31 pairs of spinal nerves from the cord. At the very core of this network is this central hub, the brain, securely anchored at the top, transitioning down into the spinal cord that runs safely through the vertebral column. This central hub is constantly relaying rapid-fire electrical impulses to and from every single part of your body. The crucial point here is that different areas of the brain handle very different, highly specialized tasks. Your cerebrum, that large folded area at the top, handles thought, intelligence, voluntary actions, and processing senses, like actively calculating the trajectory of that cricket ball. Tucked underneath is the cerebellum, which is constantly regulating your body's balance. Meanwhile, the brainstem, the medulla oblongata, is basically your autonomic autopilot,
quietly keeping your heart beating and your lungs breathing without you ever having to consciously think about it.
And that brings us to section 4, your outer shield, the skin.
Weighing in at an average of 4.5 kilograms in an adult, the skin is actually our largest organ. Structurally, it's primarily split into two main layers. The outer epidermis is constantly shedding dead cells and contains melanin pigment. Beneath that is the much thicker dermis, which is practically a whole ecosystem in itself. It's packed with hair follicles, sweat and sebaceous glands, thousands of nerve endings, and microscopic blood capillaries.
The skin isn't just some simple wrapper, you know? It is an extreme multitasker. It physically protects us against dehydration and microbial infections. It acts as a super dynamic thermostat, regulating body temperature via sweat and altering blood flow. Thanks to those thousands of nerve endings, it's our largest sensory organ for touch and temperature. It even synthesizes vitamin D from sunlight. And, tying it all back to the start of our explainer, it serves as a backup excretory organ for urea and salts.
Finally, Section 5, protecting your body systems. So to prevent incredibly painful issues like kidney stones, which form when salts like calcium oxalate crystallize, or outright kidney failure, you really need to actively maintain the system. Drink enough pure water daily to naturally flush it out. Avoid burdening it by limiting extremely salty or sour foods. If you are diabetic, controlling your blood sugar levels is paramount to preventing long-term kidney damage. And importantly, quit smoking and consuming alcohol because those introduce heavy metals and toxic chemicals right into your body's primary filtration plant.
Because the nervous system is so fragile, protecting it requires daily mindfulness. This means maintaining balanced nutrition, starting all the way back in childhood. It means avoiding spinal compression by practicing correct posture when lifting heavy objects. You've got to control mental stress and avoid excessive sleeplessness to give your brain time to actually recover. And crucially, in an emergency, never move someone with a suspected spinal injury unless absolutely necessary. Keep them completely flat and still to prevent catastrophic nerve damage. Finally, you can keep your outer shield resilient by feeding it the right nutrients, specifically vitamins A and E from fresh fruits and vegetables. Wash it gently with a mild soap that doesn't strip away its natural protective oils, and blot it dry instead of aggressively rubbing it. Protect it from intense UV rays by covering up. And again, avoid smoking. Smoking literally narrows blood vessels, starving the dermis of oxygen-rich blood flow, which causes it to lose elasticity and wrinkle prematurely. When you consider the amazing, non-stop coordination of waste removal, millions of nerve impulses racing down your spine, and continuous physical protection happening inside you right at this very moment, you have to ask yourself, what will you do differently today to protect it all? Thanks for learning with me, and stay curious.